If there's one thing we've learned about business and life, it's that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Syya, and welcome to the Gnaw on This Business Bytes podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to another episode of Gnaw on This Business Bytes. I'm Ben, and this is Syya. Now, we've had quiet quitting. We've had the great resignation. We've had, all sorts of people, doing vacations at work, where they all of a sudden they just sit there and say, "No, I'm really at my home office." No, you're actually at the beach, and all the sorts of things about with it. And we sit there and say, okay, what's behind this? And, statistic after statistic, and we're back to statistics again, people are surveyed about their job satisfaction. Are you satisfied with your job? And we're down to something like 22% job approval rating. And the question is two things. One, WTF?
Yeah.
And second of all, what does that really mean? We're sitting there in a world where our expectations and accountability matching up. Do people communicate more effectively or less effectively? Do people have unrealistic expectations of what a job should be? Does leadership tone deaf to the needs of the workforce? And are jobs not giving the ability to actually give satisfaction, where you're spending far more time doing busy work than you are doing stuff that actually moves the needle and uses brain power? And my answer is it's all of these. It's every single one of them. It's employees, it's employers, it's job expectations, and it's what's being done and what's not being done. And I sit there and go, we need to know on this. So Syya, let's go.
So I wish I knew the genius of Glassdoor, the founders of Glass Fracking Door. Let me tell you, when it first came out, everyone was like, "Oh my God, yay!" And now it's still very much a bellwether, I feel, of where we are as an economy, in the context of the happier people are is usually when the economy is going well. We have, a surplus of budget that we can spend. We have, what's that called? I've never heard of it. As a poor entrepreneur, expendable cash, whatever to spend, expendable spending.
Bonuses, anyway, yes.
But look, when a company is out of touch with the real true sentiment of their employee culture, right? It will affect the bottom line. Good, bad, ugly, and different. You got a staff that hates their life. I assure you productivity will be down significantly. I mean, there's something to be said about that whistle while you work, right? It was such a simple notion of like, oh, just sing. And it just brought me back to Whistle While You Work, which is a Disney. But the truth of the matter is unfortunately, people working in the fields, right? They used to sing their hymns, right? To kind of keep the motivation, to keep the movement flowing so they don't slow down their pace, but at least it kept their mind occupied. I feel like you bring it back now to modern age is I don't think people are singing anymore, right? And it's not because you're singing it to overcome, right? Which I just thought back to slavery. I really shouldn't have gone down that path, but it's just, let me think of more positive. Whistle While You Work, Disney, okay? When you don't have that positive song in your head as a company, your culture, your people are going to be singing other songs, which are probably less productive for you, right?
Those songs are on Reddit, and you don't want to be reading those songs.
Oh, those are good songs. But yeah,
It's called Trainwreck Are Us is the name of the song.
Yeah. But I mean, again, if you're not taking the pulse of your peoples, they will make this reminds me of another previous episode. if you, as a company, don't make the decision to make sure you get a handle on your employee for retention purposes, for development in their career, etc., it will be made for you. You will have a mass exodus. You will have the inability to hire top talent because word gets out. You don't think people talk? Hell yeah. In the age of social media, hell yeah.
Well, not only that, but as I've said many times before, needs change. You as leadership 5 years ago could have had a handle on everything.
Oh yeah.
Pre-COVID, could have had a handle, could have had a great culture, could have had, great communication, a lot of love within the office. People were productive, people were engaged. And all of a sudden, COVID comes, and this is just an example. And you took all those people and you sent them home. And you had leadership that didn't know how to deal with remote staff because they've never had remote staff. And all of a sudden, people sit there going, wait a second here. I don't trust these people to do what they're supposed to do because I can't see them. Okay, we're going to put keyboard counters on all of our equipment. Or, all of a sudden it becomes far more meetings, or all of a sudden it becomes, more reports at the end of the day or whatever, and things change. And when we come back from COVID, we don't sit there and say, okay, what worked well? What worked well? What's no longer working? What's effective? What's not effective? Let's have a conversation about this and say, look, we're never going back to the way things were. But the thing is, we need to sit there and say what can be, and how do we make it better? How do we take the good things that we've learned from COVID, things that we did before, and be able to make this work in a now hybrid environment and be able to make this more effective for everybody? But nobody's having that conversation. Employees aren't having that conversation. Leadership aren't having that conversation. And because of that, you have more and more frustrated people that sit there and say, nobody's listening to me. Nobody cares about me. Instead of me begging for a raise for this, forget it. I'm just going to go find a job somewhere else. And all of a sudden out the door they go. Because it's easier for me to go find another job that's going to pay me more because they're going to want to have a new employee and it's part of the incentive package than it is for me to fight for a raise with the company that I'm in where they're not even going to listen to me. So I think we get to a point where we're not communicating.
Yes.
We're not communicating. We're not saying it says, I'm frustrated by this. I have a problem with this. This is a problem I'm having. I'd like to talk to you about this, this, and this. Here's some ideas and here's some things that we could do. Yeah, that's great. I like this and this. We don't have the budget to do this, but that's something we can bring into the background. But why don't we try this as a test pattern, see how it works in a small micro environment. And if it works, then we can roll it out. But those conversations aren't happening. And because those conversations aren't happening, because we're afraid of conflict, because we're afraid of tipping the apple cart, because we're afraid of upsetting people, we don't say anything to anybody. And people just get frustrated because they sit there going, well, so-and-so gets this and I don't get this, or so-and-so got a new computer and I didn't, or so-and-so got an extra week vacation and I didn't get it, or whatever. And they don't take a look to sit there and say, wait a second, why is this happening? And how can we rectify this in a way that works for everybody? Because everybody is back to the self-interest. And I'm talking both sides of the fence. I'm talking leadership and I'm talking about input. Everybody is afraid of conflict. Everybody is self-interested and self-motivated. And very few people are sitting there going, wait a second here. How do we work well together to be able to drive things forward?
Well, I think you're ultimately saying, the whole communication thing is, how do we get people to give a damn? If you're going to be on the business leadership, company leadership side, right? Is how do I get my employees, my staff to give a damn? And then as employees, look, guys, I'm outside the corporate rat race. And so I'm kind of like seeing things from the outside looking in, and I'm looking at some of my colleagues and friends and hearing them kvetch. Part of me also feels like, what's your attitude adjustment going to be? Are you really in this? Because you know what? You could be working for a company that's really trying to turn and right the ship. But if you're going to be the Nelly naysayer throughout, maybe it's your time to, das Boot yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think here's where I'm also like frustrated is, what the heck happened? I'm telling you, the multiverse is done cross stream, Ben. I swear to God, because after the pandemic, I've been talking to friends where they've got the worst attitudes ever, all age groups, by the way.
Absolutely.
It's not generational, it's all age groups. So don't snowflake this and grandpa that. Okay. It's the same across the board. And it is, if you are unsatisfied, then you need to make that decision to leave or change your fracking attitude and suck it up, buttercup.
Yeah.
Because it feels like to me there's too much of this life sucks. I hate everybody. I'm just going to do a half-ass job, whatever. And then the other flip side is like, oh, everyone sucks from a management perspective. I can't get good I can't hire good people. It's communication, but it's also look, it's a two-way street, peoples. It can't just be you being dissatisfied, and it can't
Everybody's
be
got to care about
leadership.
everybody else. There's got to be as you said, there's got to be a level of empathy, and there's got to be a level of caring.
And if you don't give a poo-poos of things, then maybe you should move on to entrepreneurship or retirement. One of the two, if you can afford it. There's nothing wrong with entrepreneurship. And I'm saying this because you and I are at that age group where the decision's being made for our peer group to move on to a second career or move on to another company that will have you. And as you get older, everyone, we know this all too well, it is harder to get a role where you're not, quote, overqualified for, etc. So that is something I encourage everyone is if you're a corporate person, maybe consider going into buying your own business or entrepreneurship. If you are in a situation where I'm just freaking tired of being my own, business and I just want to coast and, like was it another conversation that I was talking about that mailman that was like
Absolutely.
basically used to be a physics guy and he's like, I just want to coast, man. Then there ain't no harm, no foul there as long as you are cool with it. And
And I
that will
don't think it's
satisfy
about
you.
coasting. I don't think it's about coasting. I think it's about realizing that you got a zone of genius. This is what your job is, and this is what my life is. And being able to sit there and separate your life from your thing and just say, listen, my passions are outside of my work experience.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. Everybody's sitting there going, oh, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. I'm going to become an entrepreneur. Guess what? What percentage of businesses fail in the first 5 years?
Like 99%.
Something like that. I think it's like 80 to 90% of
Yeah.
business. Everybody's in love with entrepreneurship until they've done it. Entrepreneurship is great. It gives you flexibility. It gives you freedom. It allows you to make your own decisions. It also means you're the last person paid. And it means that everybody else has got their hand out long before you get dollar number one. And, when you got employees, they're more important than you are. And I think that we need to realize that there is no greener grass on the other side of the fence. It's just another side of green. There's challenges everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's things that are going to be good about it. There's things that are going to be bad about it. There's things that you're going to love. There's things that you're going to hate. That's life. And I think that we as human beings have got to stop looking for utopia. We got to stop thinking that somebody else has got this amazing job that, oh my God, if I only had a job like Alan, my life would be good. Because you don't know what happens to Alan, 9 to 5, 40 days, 220 days a year. You have no idea what goes on because Alan tells you the good things. He doesn't tell you the bad things.
100%. Well, we meandered a little bit here, but let me tell you that there is a reason why grass is not always greener on the other side. It's a saying and it's a truism, right? So yeah, as an organization, if you're looking at a 23%, like satisfaction rate or 70% satisfaction rate, but only 23 people responded, or you're looking at 23% very unhappy people, like everyone's got to really just sit back and say, okay, where do I fit in this equation? And am I contributing to it? Am I contributing to the solution of it? Or I'm contributing to the challenges around it? And if you're part of the naysayer side, sorry guys, you got to figure out if you want to be there or not. And then as far as leadership, if you're cultivating an environment where half your people are like, I'm the puck out of Dodge, yeah, you got to do some company soul searching, right? Maybe level set expectations. It could be your management sucks. I don't know. But
Could be training, could be bad hires, could be the Peter principle, which we could do a whole article, a whole show on the Peter principle.
Wait, could it be pizza? Can we just do pizza parties and make everyone happy?
Perfect. And ice cream, pizza and ice cream. That's nobody works, just everybody gets pizza and ice cream. The problem is who's going to pay for it.
Well, that's why you don't get raises, people.
That's right, because you got pizza and ice cream and you didn't do any work. So here's reality. The reality is there is no perfect job. Working for yourself is not a perfect job. There's no such thing as being able to do everything you want all the time and get your way 100% of the time. That's not life. Even if you sell ice cream, guess what? There's going to be people that are going to rocky road and you're not going to have any on the truck that day. So let's just sit there and say, we need to care about each other more. We need to talk to each other more. We need to understand each other more. And we need to realize that we're not each other's enemies. We work together. And the job is to make the company successful. And when the company is successful, there's more money to do the type of things that we want to do. And that's reality. So do you have anything to add before we close this off?
No, that was pretty meaty, my friend.
All right. So I'm Ben.
And I'm Syya.
And we'll see you soon.
Hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Gnaw on This, Business Bytes. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at yourbrandmarketing.com or me at brilliantbeammedia.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through digital content and podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. So see you next week for another episode of Gnaw on This, Business Bytes.